So first, let's take a look at how to simplify sort of trig expressions of, a compound angle, which is 90, a multiple of 90 plus or minus theta. So here, our aim is basically simple. We're going to convert something fairly complicated. So something like sine of 180 minus theta, which I know you know how to do. But as an example, sine of 180 minus theta equals positive sine theta, as you said. Or, we might do something like cosine of 360 minus theta, which is also positive cosine theta. Or we might do something like tan of 180, plus theta is positive tan theta. Or we might do something like sine of, 90 minus theta is positive cosine theta. Or we might do something like cosine of 270 plus theta will then be positive sine theta. So essentially, I'm going to be, talking about how to convert things from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. These are just examples.
Yeah.
In more general terms, so, convert the left-hand side to the right-hand side. In general, we are saying we want to convert a sine, cosine, tan, cot, sec, or cosec, any of the six, of an angle which is a multiple of 90 plus or minus theta. So it could be, 180, 360, 270, 90, 0. This would count as 0 minus theta.
Yeah.
And you could have plus, or you could have minus, any of those combinations. All right?
Yeah.
And our job is to convert it into the appropriate, whether it's positive or negative, and then into the appropriate answer, whether it's sine, cosine, tan, cot, sec, or cosec. There will be one answer of theta. So that's our job. All right, we're going to be converting the left-hand side into the right-hand side. Now, there's obviously lots and lots of possibilities here, right? There's 6 times however many times multiples of 90 you want to have. So if you're going around the quadrant, you've got 0, 90, 270, 360. So, so 6 times 4 times 2. So you've got like 48 things to memorize, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of annoying. You don't really want to memorize them all. But you probably do want to be capable of converting any of them when they come up into the appropriate answer on the right. And there's going to be 12 choices of which only one is correct. Right?
Yeah.
And we need to kind of figure out what. So let's just look at our choices on the right. What is it we need to work out? What are the 2 things we need to work out?
Like which kind of, whether it should be positive or negative and which types of.
Exactly. There's really only 2 choices that, are troubling you. One is it positive or negative? That's question 1. And question 2 is which trig ratio? And that's actually really simple to do. I'll just, use the first letter there. So essentially, what we want to be able to do is fill in this table. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So what we're going to need to do is firstly answer question 1. Question 1 is if it's positive or negative. And we will do that in 2 steps. So question 1, is it positive or negative?
It's positive.
Actually, we haven't talked about how to answer that question yet.
Oh.
So sometimes it's negative.
Yeah.
So first question is it positive or negative? Now, obviously, until I tell you the question, you don't know. But how do you tell if it's positive or negative? Well, first step is consider an acute theta. Now, you know what acute theta means. What does acute mean?
So it should be less than 90.
Right. And so it's less than 90 degrees and greater than 0 degrees. So let me be very clear here. The rules I'm about to tell you are identities, which means they work for any value of theta.
Yes.
So although the rules do work for any value of theta, and we can prove that if we want to, but for the purposes of memorizing the rule and helping you kind of figure out what to do, for the purposes of the rule, imagine it's acute. All right.
Yep.
So if it is acute, then identify the relevant quadrant that the angle falls in. So that's your first part of step 1. So go back to this table here. If theta is acute, 90 minus theta is which quadrant?
The first quadrant.
The next one?
So it's positive.
Stop. So that's first quadrant, and then this one?
This one is second quadrant.
And then this one?
Second.
And keep going down?
And it's third. And the third, it's
270 plus theta is?
the fourth quadrant. And it's the fourth. And it's the first. And it's the fourth.
Good. So now we've identified all the quadrants. That's the first part of step 1 done. You have now considered if theta was acute, even though it doesn't actually need to be. And then you've identified the relevant quadrant. But we haven't quite decided if it's positive or negative yet. So to decide if it's positive or negative yet, you need to now do the next part. So in conjunction with your ASTC, identify polarity. That is, if it's positive or negative.
Yes.
So first quadrant, are they, is sine positive or negative?
It's positive.
Cosine?
It's positive.
Tan?
Positive.
Cot?
Positive.
Sec?
Positive.
Cosec?
Positive.
All right. And so, second quadrant, sine?
Positive.
Cosine?
Negative.
Tan?
Negative.
Cot?
Negative.
Sec?
It's negative.
Cosec?
And positive.
Good. So can you quickly go through the rest and just fill in whether it's positive or negative, labeling it on the left, as I've done for the moment?
Yeah.
Okay. If it's hard for you to draw, then you can just tell me. That'll be fast. Perhaps might be faster. Yeah.
This, I think.
So positive, negative, and just keep telling me.
Also, the tangent is negative and cosine is negative, negative and positive. And it's the sine is negative, it's positive, negative. Is that right? Oh, so the cosine is positive.
Which quadrant are we in?
The third quadrant.
And in the third quadrant?
Oh, it should be positive. Oh, it should be negative. And tan is positive. And cosine is positive. And then it should be negative and negative. And sine is negative. cosine is negative, positive, positive, negative, negative. And it's negative, positive, negative, negative, positive, and negative. And it's negative, positive, negative, negative, positive, and negative. And it's positive, positive, it's all positive. And it's all positive as well. Oh, no, it's, oh, it should be negative, positive, negative, negative, positive, negative.
Good. All right. So now step 1 is done. You've now decided whether it's positive or negative, and that's it. That's that part done.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we haven't finished the question because we know there's 2 parts. We've now decided if it's positive or negative, but we still need to decide which trig ratio it is. So it's actually quite simple, and you kind of already know half of this and you just don't know the other half. So, and I'm kind of giving you a shortcut without explaining the why, but we can talk about the why in a moment, but let's just get through the shortcut first and what the rule is, basically. So which trig ratio? Well, to decide which trig ratio to put in, really, this just depends on the number in front of the plus or minus theta. So you look at this number. Now, if the number is a multiple of 180, so a whole number multiple of 180, otherwise, if one other way you can think of it is it's an even number multiplied by 90, then your action is simple. Keep the same ratio. So is this number is 90, right?
Yeah.
Is that a multiple of 180?
No.
Nope. So we skip that. We don't know just yet. 180, is that a multiple of 180?
Yeah.
All right. So that means I keep the same ratios. So that means that sine. You just copy it. So it's sine, because this is sine of 180 minus theta, right?
Yeah.
So it's just sine. You just copy it.
Yeah.
And of course, this will be cosine theta. This will be tan theta. This will be cot theta. This will be sec theta. This will be cosec theta. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is this one a multiple of 180?
Yes.
So again, you just copy. Right? Is this one a multiple of 180?
No.
Is this a multiple of 180?
Yes.
Is this a multiple of 180?
Yes.
Is this a multiple of 180?
Yes.
Good. So in these cases, you just copy. And this more or less, I mean, you weren't quite sure about the negative thetas, but this just tells you the answers to all the ones we've filled in so far.
Yeah.
All right, then. Now, what we also have is obviously the other ones. So if it's not a multiple of 180, then the ones that are left are just multiples of 90.
Yeah.
If it's an odd multiple of 90 and not a multiple of 180, then your action is to swap the ratios. So what do I mean by swap? Well, swap means they're paired up. So you've got sine and cosine, will swap. That's one pair.
Yeah.
Tan and cot will swap. And sec and cosec will swap. So, given that, sine, this is a multiple of 90 and not 180, right?
Yeah.
So that means sine will swap and become cosine.
Yeah.
And cosine will swap and become sine. Tan will swap and become cot. Cot will swap and become tan. Sec will swap and become cosec. And cosec will swap and become sec.
Yeah.
And that just applies throughout the whole thing. Make sense?
Yeah.
So while we filled in this table, which has, 54 different things, it's actually quite simple. I'm not asking you to actually memorize these 54 things. What I am asking you to do is, if I give you any one of these, so for example, if I ask you what tan of 180 plus theta is, you can then think, 180 plus theta, that's like it's in quadrant 3. And it's tan, so it's positive, and it's 180, so it's tan. So the answer would be, well, as we've got here, positive tan theta.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you do want to be able to convert any of these. And in fact, the rules I'm giving you, while you are unlikely to be asked anything outside of what's already on the board here, it applies to 540, bigger numbers as well, right?
Yeah.
So you should be able to simplify anything of this form, that's a multiple of 90, for any multiple of 90, including positive and negative, to just this form.
Yeah.
Good. Any questions with that?
No, all good.
All right. Do you want me to explain, give you examples of why it works, or are you happy to accept that / look at that in your own time by drawing the circle?
Yeah, I think I kind of understand this.
All right, sure. As long as you understand, then we won't explain it. Let me know next week if you aren't happy with it. But
Yeah.
you do need to know how to convert from one form to the other.